Lamaku has a lot of neat features, one of which are the notifications. So you get a little notification bell here, and then it updates you on a lot of different things. However, oftentimes I feel overwhelmed with the notifications that I get. So I'm going to show you how I manage my notifications, and then you can use this to edit the notification settings. So then it's best for whatever it is that you're doing. So if you click on your name, there's a little notifications link. Head to there, and then actually this is where it shows you the link to the app. App is nice, right? Because you do get the notifications. Here you can change your email settings. I believe by default, and I think the only option is for you to use your Hawaii.edu. I don't know if you can add a personal email. And then here is this summary email. And so if you've never used Lamaku before, or Brightspace, if you were from some other institution, every day around 8 a.m. you get a summary of everything that happens in all your courses. Now it tends to be kind of a long email, and so actually I set this to never because I don't need that summary of everything going on because I'm in Lamaku all the time, and it's a really good habit to go just log into Lamaku. Now, you do get notifications for everything, so you don't necessarily turn off the notifications, but a really helpful thing here is that you get emails. However, I think by default, all these things are checked. So what you're going to do is anytime something happens, if I like find a typo in one of my pages and I change that typo, bang, you're going to get an email. And if I move something around, bang, you're going to get an email. And so it cuts to a point really where you just start to ignore all those emails because there's so many quote unquote important emails that come around that you do end up missing the important emails, right? And so for me personally, what I do is I leave the announcements as an email because anytime there's an important announcement that gets sent out, I get the emails. And actually, because most of these are my courses, I just like to make sure I'm getting the emails, so then I know that you're getting the emails. And then here in the discussions, I like to get emails in case something there's new or something I get mentioned. I like to kind of stay on top of that, so I put that in there, and then everything else I just kind of leave off, right? Because I know when assignments are due because I set them and all these kinds of things. I'm in more control of these things because as a moderator, I, of course, know what's happening, right? However, you may want to get emails or notifications for, when assignments are due or when you get feedback. And these are all going to be, of course, specific to the classes that you're taking. In this specific class, we don't have any assignments. So, for this specific class, you don't necessarily need to get any emails for assignments and things like that. However, the one kind of frustrating thing is that you can't set notifications for specifically for all your classes. This is a kind of a general all your classes, all Lamaku interaction notifications, right? So if you do have classes where you have assignments, you're gonna have to check those things off, right? And so I would leave everything on initially, just have everything checked, and then just kind of see how it goes for you, and then try to read all the notifications. You'll get the little number next to your app when you have your app, and just see what's useful to you. And if you're like getting overwhelmed and you're like, oh, I don't need this and I definitely don't need this, and because again, the nice thing is you get notifications. The bad thing is you get so many notifications, and so it does get to a point where you start to ignore. However, it is important to stay on top of things, right? And reminders that assignments are due, or when you get feedback. Sometimes, like actually, the worst thing is you do your assignment, it gets graded, you get feedback, you don't read the feedback, and then that affects your next assignments, right? And so make sure that you're constantly feeding into the loop and things like that. And then, of course, have your graded items. Whenever a grade gets updated, it'd be nice if you know. So then, once again, you can catch things early rather than 5 weeks later. You're like, oh shoot, I've been doing so horribly in these. I didn't even know. And because you're not staying up on it, it's kind of hard to fix things in the past, kind of going backwards, right? So kind of click around, and like I said, at the beginning, if you're not sure, just go ahead and click them all, and then figure out what works best for you. Now, you can't exclude some classes. So, I'm in these training things all the time. Oh my goodness, this one here sends me like daily emails all the time for anything and everything, right? So I certainly put that in my exclusions and my various trainings. No offense to Professor Gilbert, right? But I'm in her class because of our training, and I don't need to hear everything that's going on in her class. So I put her on my exclusions list as well, right? And so if you have certain classes that Llama is not heavy use, or you don't really need it, or you don't need notifications from them, you can put them in your exclusions, right? But generally, because as a student, you're probably going to need at least announcements from your classes. I would hesitate to put any class on your exclusions. But again, for every person, you're always going to have to do what's best for you. Okay, so goof around with it. Useful tool, but certainly you should customize it so then it works best for you. And then you can always change at any time or at every semester.